What happens when Hollywood royalty steps onto a talk show stage expecting respect, only to be met with disrespect so profound that it ignites a confrontation heard around the entertainment world? In just 31 seconds, a single comment from the host would destroy any chance of civil conversation and set the stage for one of the most shocking exits in daytime television history. The studio lights were bright that afternoon. The audience sat waiting. Cameras were rolling. Everything seemed perfect for another episode of her talk show. Jennifer Hudson welcomed her guests with a smile that did not quite reach her eyes. Samuel L. Jackson walked onto the stage. The crowd erupted in applause. He waved. He smiled. He took his seat across from the host. Jennifer leaned forward. Her expression changed. Something shifted in the air. The audience could feel it. The cameras captured every moment. This was supposed to be a friendly conversation. It was supposed to be fun. But Jennifer had other plans. She started with a question. It seemed innocent enough, but the tone was wrong. The words carried weight. Jennifer looked at Samuel with an expression that made the audience uncomfortable. She asked about his recent film. He began to answer. She cut him off. "Let me stop you right there," Jennifer said. Her voice was sharp. The audience went quiet. Samuel paused. He looked confused. He had been in this business for decades. He had done hundreds of interviews. This was different. This felt hostile. "I have to ask you something," Jennifer continued. She did not wait for permission. "Do you think your career would have happened without the opportunities given to you?" The question hung in the air. The audience shifted in their seats. Samuel's face changed. His smile faded. This was not a normal interview question. This was something else entirely. Samuel took a breath. He chose his words carefully. "I worked hard for everything I have," he said. His voice was calm but firm. "I earned my place in this industry." Jennifer laughed. It was not a friendly laugh. It was dismissive. It was cruel. The audience could not believe what they were hearing. "Earned it?" Jennifer repeated. She leaned back in her chair, her arms crossed. "That is interesting, because from where I sit, it looks like you were just lucky. Lucky to be in the right place at the right time, lucky that people took pity on you." The words were venomous. They were meant to wound. And they did. The camera zoomed in on Samuel's face. His jaw tightened. His eyes narrowed. He was a man who had faced discrimination. He had overcome obstacles that Jennifer could never understand. He had fought for respect in an industry that did not always give it freely. And now he was being told that his success was just luck, that he did not deserve it. "Jennifer," Samuel said slowly, "I do not think you understand what you are saying right now." His voice was controlled, but there was an edge to it. A warning. Jennifer did not heed the warning. Instead, she pressed forward. She seemed to be enjoying this. She seemed to think she had the upper hand. "Oh, I understand perfectly," she said. "I understand that some people get opportunities handed to them, and then they act like they worked so hard, like they struggled, but really, they just rode a wave." The audience gasped. Some people looked around nervously. This was going too far. This was crossing a line. Samuel stood up. The sudden movement caught everyone off guard. The audience fell silent. Jennifer's smile faltered. For the first time, she seemed to realize that she had made a mistake. A big mistake. Samuel looked down at her. His presence filled the stage. He was not angry. He was beyond angry. He was disappointed. And that was somehow worse. "You know what, Jennifer?" Samuel said. His voice was quiet now, but everyone could hear him. The studio was that silent. "I came here today as a professional. I came here to talk about my work, to connect with your audience, to be respectful, but you clearly have no interest in respect. You have no interest in having a real conversation." Jennifer tried to speak. "Samuel, I think you are misunderstanding me. I was just trying to have a conversation. I was just asking questions." Her voice had changed. The confidence was gone. Now she sounded defensive. She sounded like someone who realized they had gone too far but did not want to admit it. "No," Samuel said firmly. "You were not asking questions. You were making accusations. You were being disrespectful. And I do not have to sit here and accept that. Not from you. Not from anyone." He unclipped his microphone. The sound echoed through the studio. It was a sound of finality, a sound that said this conversation was over. The audience watched in shock. Some people started to applaud. They were applauding Samuel. They were supporting him. They could see what was happening. They could see that Jennifer had been wrong, that she had been cruel, that Samuel was standing up for himself in the face of disrespect. Jennifer's face turned red. She was embarrassed. She was angry. But mostly, she was shocked. No one walked out on her show. No one challenged her like this. She was the host. She was in control. Except right now, she was not. Right now, Samuel was taking control, and there was nothing she could do about it. I have spent over 30 years in this business, Samuel continued. His voice grew stronger. I have worked on some of the most important films of our generation. I have won awards. I have earned the respect of my peers. And I will not sit here and let you diminish that. I will not let you act like my career is some accident, some gift that was handed to me. He took a step closer to Jennifer, not threatening, just making his presence known. Do you know what it took for me to get where I am? Do you have any idea of the doors that were closed in my face? The roles I was told I was not right for? Times I was overlooked? The times I was told I was not good enough? I persevered through all of that. I worked harder than anyone around me. I honed my craft. I perfected my skills. I made myself undeniable. The audience was hanging on every word. This was not just about a talk show interview gone wrong. This was about something deeper. This was about respect, about recognition, about the struggle that so many people face in their careers. The struggle to be seen, to be valued, to be acknowledged for what they bring to the table. Jennifer was shrinking in her chair. She had not expected this. She had not expected Samuel to push back, to defend himself, to call her out on her behavior. She was used to being the one in charge, the one asking the tough questions, the one making people uncomfortable. But now the tables had turned. Now she was the one who was uncomfortable, and she did not like it. You sit here in your comfortable chair, Samuel said. His words were measured, deliberate. With your successful show, with your team of people supporting you, and you have the nerve to tell me that I got lucky? That my success is not earned? Do you understand how insulting that is? Do you understand how disrespectful that is to everything I have accomplished? Jennifer tried to interrupt. I did not mean it like that. You are twisting my words. But Samuel was not having it. He held up his hand, a gesture that said stop, a gesture that said I am not finished. No, he said firmly, I am not twisting anything. You said exactly what you meant to say. You questioned my legitimacy. You questioned whether I deserve my success, and that is something I will not tolerate from anyone. The tension in the studio was thick. You could cut it with a knife. The crew members were frozen. The cameras kept rolling. Everyone knew they were witnessing something significant, something that would be talked about for years. This was not just another celebrity interview. This was a moment of truth. A moment where someone refused to be diminished, refused to be disrespected. Samuel looked around the studio, at the lights, at the cameras, at the audience members who were watching with wide eyes. I have been doing this for a long time, he said. His voice was quieter now, but no less powerful. I have been on hundreds of shows. I have done thousands of interviews, and I have never walked off a set before. Never. But there is a first time for everything, and today is that day. Jennifer's face was pale. She was starting to realize the gravity of the situation. This was not going to blow over. This was not something she could smooth over with a quick apology or a clever joke. This was real. This was serious. And she had caused it, with her words, with her attitude, with her complete lack of respect for her guest. Samuel, please, she said. Her voice had changed completely. The arrogance was gone. Now she sounded desperate, scared even. Let us just take a moment. Let us reset. We can start over. I will ask you about your film, about your projects, about anything you want to talk about. She was grasping at straws, trying anything to make him stay, to salvage the situation, but Samuel was done. He had made his decision. No, he said simply. We are not going to reset. We are not going to start over, because the damage is done. You showed me who you are. You showed everyone watching who you are. And I am not going to pretend that did not happen. I am not going to sit back down and act like everything is fine, because it is not fine, not even close. The cameras were still rolling. The producers were in a panic. This was live television. This was not supposed to happen. They did not know whether to cut to commercial or keep filming. They decided to keep filming. They could not look away. No one could look away. This was television history happening in real time. An older woman in the audience stood up. She started clapping, slowly at first, then more. People joined her, then more. Within seconds, half the audience was on their feet, applauding Samuel, supporting him, showing him that they understood, that they agreed with him, that they thought he was absolutely right to stand up for himself. Jennifer saw the audience reaction. Her eyes widened. This was bad. Really bad. Her own audience was turning against her. They were taking his side. They were making it clear that they thought she was wrong, that she had crossed a line, that she had been disrespectful. And they were not going to pretend otherwise just to make her feel better. A man in the front row shouted, "Good for you, Samuel." Another person yelled, "You tell her." The audience was energized. They were engaged, but not in the way Jennifer wanted. They were not on her side. They were on his side. And that made everything worse. Because this was not just about losing a guest. This was about losing the respect of her audience. Samuel acknowledged the audience with a nod. A small smile played on his lips. Not a smile of triumph, a smile of appreciation. These people understood. They got it. They saw what had happened, and they were not going to let it slide. They were not going to let Jennifer get away with her behavior. And that meant something. That meant a lot. "You know what the problem is, Jennifer?" Samuel said. He was still standing, still commanding the stage, still in control even though this was her show, her studio, her territory. "The problem is that you think you can say anything to anyone. You think that because you are the host, you have the right to be disrespectful, to be insulting, to tear people down. But you do not have that right. No one does." He paused. Let his words sink in. Success does not give you permission to be cruel. Fame does not give you permission to be rude. Your platform does not give you permission to diminish other people's accomplishments. And the sooner you learn that, the better off you will be. Because right now, you are alienating people. You are showing your true colors. And people are watching. They are paying attention. Jennifer's hands were shaking. She clasped them together, trying to stop the trembling, trying to maintain some semblance of composure. But it was hard, really hard, because she knew he was right. She knew that she had messed up, that she had let her ego get the better of her, that she had treated him poorly, and now she was facing the consequences. A producer approached the stage. Quietly, carefully, she whispered something to Jennifer, probably asking if she wanted to go to commercial. Jennifer shook her head. She had to try one more time, had to try to fix this. "Samuel," she said. Her voice was barely above a whisper now. "I am truly sorry. I was wrong. I should not have said those things. Please, give me a chance to make this right." Samuel looked at her. Really looked at her. He could see the fear in her eyes, the regret, the realization that she had made a huge mistake. And for a moment, just a moment, he almost felt sorry for her. Almost. But then he remembered her words, her tone, her complete disregard for his feelings, his accomplishments, his humanity, and the sympathy faded. "Some things cannot be taken back," Samuel said softly. "Some words, once spoken, cannot be unspoken. You made a choice today, Jennifer. You chose to be disrespectful. You chose to insult me. You chose to question my worth. And now I am making a choice. I am choosing to leave. I am choosing to walk away. Because I deserve better than this. Every person deserves better than this." Jennifer tried one more time to salvage the situation. "Samuel, please, sit down. Let us talk about this. I did not mean to offend you. I was just trying to have a meaningful conversation. I was trying to challenge you a little bit. That is what good interviewers do." Her words sounded hollow. They sounded like excuses. Samuel shook his head. Good interviewers challenge their guests, but they do it with respect. They do it with intelligence. They do not insult them. They do not belittle their accomplishments. You crossed a line today, Jennifer, and I am done here. He set the microphone down on the chair. The sound was loud in the silent studio. The audience erupted. Some people were cheering. Some people were clapping. Some people were standing up. They were showing their support for Samuel. They were showing that they agreed with him, that they thought Jennifer had been wrong, that they respected him for standing up for himself. Jennifer sat frozen in her chair. Her mouth opened and closed. She tried to form words. Nothing came out. She looked at her producers. They were as shocked as she was. They had no idea what to do. This had never happened before. Guests did not walk out, especially not guests like Samuel L. Jackson. Samuel turned to face the audience. He gave them a small nod, a gesture of thanks for their support. Then he looked back at Jennifer one last time. "I hope you learned something from this," he said. "I hope you learn to treat people with the respect they deserve, because one day you are going to disrespect the wrong person, and they might not be as patient as I am being right now." He picked up his microphone from where he had set it down, held it for a moment, then placed it gently on Jennifer's desk, right in front of her. a final gesture, a symbol of his departure, of his refusal to continue this charade. "I wish you well, Jennifer," he said. "I hope you learn from this. I hope you grow, because if you do not, you are going to find yourself very alone, very isolated, and wondering why no one wants to work with you anymore." The audience erupted again. More applause. More cheering. Some people were actually giving Samuel a standing ovation. It was unprecedented. Guests did not get standing ovations when they walked off shows, but this was different. This was special. This was a man standing up for himself in a way that resonated with everyone watching, everyone who had ever been disrespected, everyone who had ever been made to feel small, everyone who had ever wished they had the courage to walk away. Samuel turned his back on Jennifer. He faced the audience one more time. "Thank you," he said to them. "Thank you for understanding. Thank you for your support. It means more than you know." And then he walked, slowly, purposefully, toward the exit. His footsteps echoed through the silent studio. Every step was powerful. Every step was intentional. Every step was a statement. A young woman in the audience started crying. She was not crying because she was sad. She was crying because she was moved, because she had seen something powerful, something important. She had seen someone refuse to accept less than they deserved, refuse to be treated poorly, and it touched something deep inside her, a place where her own experiences with disrespect lived, where her own struggles for recognition resided. Jennifer sat alone on the stage. The cameras were still on her. She had to say something. She had to do something. But what could she say? How could she explain what had just happened? How could she justify her behavior? The truth was, she could not. There was no justification. There was no explanation that would make this better. Finally, she spoke. "Well," she said weakly, "that was unexpected." Her voice trembled. She tried to smile. It looked more like a grimace. "Let us take a break. We will be right back." The cameras cut away. The audience sat in stunned silence. Some people were talking among themselves. Everyone was processing what they had just witnessed. Behind the scenes, chaos erupted. Producers were running around. Assistants were making phone calls. Security was checking on Samuel, making sure he was okay, making sure he had everything he needed. They were treating him with the respect he deserved, the respect Jennifer should have shown him from the beginning. People were whispering, wondering what would happen next, wondering if Jennifer would address what happened, wondering if she would apologize properly, wondering if the show could recover from this. In the control room, the director was pacing back and forth. His headset was askew. His face was red. He was barking orders at people, trying to figure out how to fill the rest of the show. They had lost their main guest, their headline interview, and there were still 30 minutes left to fill. This was a nightmare, an absolute nightmare. And it was all because Jennifer could not keep her ego in check, could not treat a legendary actor with basic respect. Samuel stood in his dressing room. He was calm. He was composed. He had done what he needed to do. He had stood up for himself. He had refused to be disrespected, and he had done it with class, with dignity. He had not yelled. He had not cursed. He had simply stated the truth and walked away. That took more strength than most people realized. More courage. More self-control. It would have been easy to explode, to lash out, to match her disrespect with his own. But he had taken the high road, and he was proud of that. One of the producers knocked on his door. She came in looking apologetic, looking embarrassed. "Mr. Jackson," she said, "I'm so sorry about what happened out there. That was completely inappropriate. Jennifer was out of line." Samuel nodded. He appreciated the apology, but he knew it was not the producer's fault. It was Jennifer's fault, and Jennifer was the one who needed to apologize. The producer continued, "We understand if you want to leave. We will arrange a car for you. And again, we are deeply sorry for how you were treated." "Is she going to apologize?" Samuel asked. The producer hesitated. Her eyes flickered with uncertainty. "I do not know," she admitted. "She is pretty shaken up right now. I think she is still processing what happened, but I will certainly convey your feelings to her, and I want you to know that the entire staff is mortified by the situation. This does not represent who we are or what we stand for." Samuel appreciated her words, but words from the staff were not enough. The apology needed to come from Jennifer herself. Back on the stage, Jennifer was trying to compose herself. She was looking at her notes. She was trying to figure out what to say when they came back from commercial. She was trying to figure out how to spin this, how to make herself look less bad. But there was no spin that would work. The audience had seen everything. The cameras had captured everything. The truth was out there, and no amount of clever words or strategic framing could change what had happened. She had been disrespectful. She had been wrong, and everyone knew it. The commercial break ended. The cameras came back on. Jennifer looked into the lens. She tried to smile. "Welcome back," she said. Her voice was steadier now, but you could still hear the tremor underneath. The vulnerability, the fear. "As you saw, we had a bit of a situation with our guest. Samuel L. Jackson has left the building." She paused. The audience was silent, waiting, wondering if she would apologize, wondering if she would take responsibility, wondering if she had learned anything from what just happened. "I want to say," Jennifer continued. She stopped. She started again. "I want to say that I have a lot of respect for Samuel. He is a talented actor, and I'm sorry if anything I said came across the wrong way. It was not a real apology. It was a non-apology. And I am sorry if you were offended statement. It was the kind of apology that admitted nothing, that took no real responsibility. The audience was not buying it. You could see it on their faces. They had witnessed what happened. They had heard what she said. They knew she was wrong, and this half-hearted apology was not going to change that. Some people in the audience shook their heads. Some crossed their arms. They were disappointed. They were let down by someone they had looked up to. Jennifer moved on to her next segment. She tried to act like nothing had happened. She tried to be cheerful, to be engaging. But it fell flat. The energy in the studio had changed. The magic was gone. The audience was no longer with her. They were thinking about Samuel, about how he had been treated, about how he had stood up for himself, about how he had walked away with his dignity intact. In his dressing room, Samuel was packing his things. He was ready to leave. Ready to put this whole experience behind him, a young assistant came in. She looked nervous. "Excuse me, Mr. Jackson," she said quietly. "I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you for standing up for yourself, for showing us that it is okay to walk away from disrespect. A lot of people needed to see that." Samuel smiled at her. A real smile. A warm smile. "You are welcome," he said. "And remember, you never have to accept disrespect. Not from anyone. It does not matter who they are. It does not matter what position they hold. Your dignity is worth more than any job, any opportunity, any paycheck." The assistant nodded. Tears filled her eyes. Those words meant something to her. They meant everything. Samuel finished packing. He took one last look around the dressing room. This had not been how he expected his day to go. But sometimes life threw you curveballs. Sometimes people surprised you, not always in good ways. The important thing was how you responded, and Samuel knew he had responded correctly. He had stood his ground. He had defended his legacy. He had walked away when it became clear that respect was not going to be given. He walked out of the dressing room, down the hallway, past the staff members who looked at him with admiration, past the security guards who nodded their respect, past the producers who were still scrambling to figure out how to handle the situation. He walked out the door and into the sunlight, into the fresh air, away from the toxicity, away from the disrespect. Back in the studio, Jennifer was finishing her show. She was going through the motions, saying her lines, thanking her guests, thanking her audience. But something had shifted. Something fundamental had changed. She had always been the one in control, the one with the power. But today, she had learned a hard lesson. That power means nothing if you use it to hurt people. That control is an illusion when you push someone too far. The show ended. The camera stopped rolling. The audience filed out. They were talking amongst themselves, discussing what they had seen. Most of them were on Samuel's side. Most of them thought Jennifer had been wrong. Some were questioning whether they would come back to another taping, whether they wanted to support someone who treated guests like that. Jennifer walked back to her dressing room. She closed the door. She sat down. She looked at herself in the mirror. She saw the makeup, the perfect hair, the expensive clothes. But underneath all of that, she saw someone who had made a terrible mistake. Someone who had let their ego get in the way of common decency. Someone who had learned today that even the biggest stars will walk away if you do not treat them right. Miles away, Samuel L. Jackson sat in his car. He was headed home, headed back to his life, his career, his success, the success he had earned, the success no one could take away from him. Not with words, not with insults, not with attempts to diminish his accomplishments. He had worked too hard. come too far, overcome too much. And today, he had proven once again why he was a legend. Not just because of his talent, not just because of his iconic roles, but because of his character, his integrity, his refusal to compromise. Because when faced with disrespect, he chose dignity. And that was worth more than any applause, any award, any recognition. That was worth everything. That was his legacy.